So after that very awkward scene in Gaia's chambers, I was told the lady had accepted my proposal. Alex stormed off angrily. I don't think she was too happy about it. Mindy followed close behind her. Those two seemed pretty close, despite having only known each other for a short time. Maybe it was their common coffee roots. Karen and Farah stayed behind to welcome me to Gaia's temple. Karen asked Farah to make me feel at home and get me situated. Farah took me back to her studio, and we discussed what this actually meant. She told me that for about a week or two I would be mentored by each of the ladies and how I would help out their community. I'd start with her, and she was their spirit lead, which basically meant she supported tasks which promoted comfort and good feelings like positivity, creativity, and hope within their community. In practice, it meant she worked on pottery. She created furniture, clothing, and artwork to help express the ladies' identity in space. She also came up with societal events and things they could do to relax. It basically sounded like she was their glorified HR representative. Karen represented the body, so she took care of the food production and medicines, which she grew and prepared in the gardens above. She came up with exercise regimens to keep us all healthy and fit on the island. So she was the mom and doctor of the community. Alex represented the mind, which meant she did all the research planning and took care of the technologies that protected the island and kept it hidden. She also handled their cover story at the Seedy Tavern. This is how they acquired resources for the island and kept it safe from incoming travelers. We carved our stories into Gaia's altar to remember and respect our origins. So we knew what brought us to Gaia, and we could get to know each other a little bit better. Farah was responsible for those carvings as well. I told her it weirded me out a little bit. I wasn't looking for fame. Besides, I didn't really have a good women's rights story for her. She laughed and said we'd work on that. I told her I hadn't done much in the way of arts and crafts, but hey, I'd be happy to try. She said, hey, maybe I'd discover a hidden talent. She took me back to her room. It looked a lot like mine, though incredibly more furnished and homey. She pointed to the alcoves which had been painted in her room to look like windows. Well, I can see you like deserts, I told her. She said, I wanted to remember where I came from, for better or worse. She asked me if there was a memory I would like to see every day when I woke up. I thought back to my home and my desk, about the things I had left behind, including a picture of my lost dog. I asked her, could it be a thing rather than a place? She said it could be anything I wanted. So I mentioned a picture I had on my phone of my dog. She was pleased and promised to get a copy from Alex, who was still looking at the phone. Before I could ask, she promised I'd get my phone back at the end of orientation. But for now, Alex was making sure it was clear of any harmful software. She was probably deleting all my apps and snooping at my texts. I asked Farah what is her deal? Why was she such a psycho? Poison, interrogation, destroying my stuff? Farah said we all come from hard backgrounds. Alex has a chip on her shoulder, but she's just overprotective. I'm not sure I was fully convinced that was all there was to it, but we moved on. What about the other alcove? Farah asked. What would you like to see there? I mentioned I used to have a flower on my desk, a purple gerbera. She asked what were my favorite flowers, and I picked a few. She said, between seas, forests, mountains, and deserts, which background did I prefer? I chose mountains. I didn't think too hard about it. Maybe I was reminded of the mountain that we were currently standing in. What about day or night? I chose night. I kind of always had a thing for a pretty moon and starscapes. She told me she'd come up with a few designs and we'd review them tomorrow, that I should get some rest. The next morning, I noticed one of the ladies had returned my backpack while I was sleeping. This gave me the opportunity to change back into my own clothing for the first time in what felt like forever. Farah showed up shortly after and showed me a few of the designs. After a quick meal, she taught me the basics of how to paint, and over the course of the day, we painted the alcoves in my room. When we were done, I said, "It's missing something. Don't windows have curtains?" Farah told me she had just the thing for that, so we hung curtains next. The next day, she taught me how to make a clay mug. It didn't turn out so well, so clearly pottery was not my thing. I also got a chance to try my hand at weaving a little placemat, which was a little more successful. I added it to the little table in my room. On the third day, I helped build a step stool, which also turned out okay. We also upholstered a chair, which was kind of fun getting to do something creative and practical for a change. I almost forgot what I was doing at Gaia's temple with all this distraction. In my evenings, I wandered around the temple a bit to get to know the place. The gardens were nice to get some fresh air, but I was more curious about you, Mr. Turtle. It took me a little while to work up the courage to come see where you were living. Farah promised you were sweet and innocent, even though you looked scary. Jury's out, though. No offense, but you're practically my jailkeeper. But hey, if you don't mean me any harm, I don't mean you any. So, truce? Oh, no you don't. You stay where you are, Horny. No more glumping for you.